Well, thank you so much for joining us once again in our video series on how to become a ninja with OneDrive. Now, our focus today is going to be how you can redirect things like your My Documents or your desktop to OneDrive so that if your computer were to crash or have issues, you can still have access to that data. It's also really nice if you want to access something under your My Documents on your mobile device or perhaps another computer like a web browser. Because that data is being synchronized to OneDrive, you'll always have access to it, and also feeling safe that if there was something to happen to your computer, you'd be okay. So let's get into it. Okay, so like we were talking about, having access or the ability to move your data to OneDrive is a powerful option. So we're going to walk you through how you can kind of do that. This is going to require the sync client for you to do this. So if you don't have the sync client on your computer, all you would have to do is go through some of the initial steps that we talked about in I think our first video, where we talked about how you can synchronize your machine to OneDrive. But once you've got that done, in this situation where I'm going to show you my screen, that has already been the case. Now, once we have the client configured, we need to just go ahead and move My Documents and desktop if that's what you want to do. And if there are other folders you want to sync to OneDrive, you can do that as well. So I have my desktop shared out. Let's get into it. So under the documents, I have important stuff. And under here, I have the files that I really care about. So what I want to do is I want to find out where OneDrive is first so that I can tell My Documents that's where they need to save. So if I click here and I go to my sync client and I click on this and I hit open folder, this is going to give me the location of where OneDrive is at. So I'm going to copy this path, and you can kind of do that by clicking here first and then highlighting it and then right-clicking and saying copy like you saw me do here. Now what I want to do is I want to go to the Documents section. I want to right-click, and I want to go to Properties. And then under Locations here, I can paste the new location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right here just before Documents. I'm going to paste it here. The reason why I did that is I still need to have a Documents, but I already have one there, so I'm going to call it something different just to make sure that I don't have a duplicate. Now, in your case, you probably would want to just leave it Documents, but just for the lab that I have, this is what I have to do. So I'm going to say OK, and it's going to give you the option to say, OK, first off, do you want me to create this folder because that folder doesn't exist? And I'm going to say yes. Now what it's going to ask us is like, do you want me to move the contents of your existing documents over to the new location? Now, that's really helpful if you have files there that you want to know that you get moved over. It can be kind of a pain that if you have a ton of stuff and not all the stuff that you want to move, that you want moved over. So you might want to say no and then just cherry pick the stuff that you want to move over. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. So at that situation, what it's going to do, if I hit OK on this, it's going to go through a bit of a pause while it's doing the copy, and now it's doing the transfer of the files. That's where you kind of have to think about maybe if you've got possibly terabytes of data inside your My Documents, you may not want to have it do it itself. You may want to cherry pick because just the amount of data is too much, so that you don't overload it. So now that when I click on here and I have the documents, look, there's my important stuff. Again, this is one that I had before, so yours shouldn't look like that. Mine has two, just to be thoroughly confusing. But you do see it says document 2. That's where it's at. And there's my important stuff. It moved it over. And what's nice about it now is see how it has the icons indicating the status that it's synchronized and everything is fine. It's up in OneDrive, so that if this computer were to crash, that data would now be safe. And what's nice about it too is once I click on Documents, that quick link is now redirected to my OneDrive, so that as I go to work and do more stuff, it's always going to be where it needs to be. And that way, if my system were to crash, I could get it back. And then if I got a new computer, all I would have to do is just follow that process again, and boom, the data would be right back into My Documents. It's a nice little feature and trick. So I hope you enjoyed that video where we talked about how you can redirect your documents. You can do the same thing for your desktop. We just didn't cover that in this video. The principle is really just the same. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time on our next video on the series.